Hi everyone. So the next phase of planning is I do a pink star against everything that's urgent. And there will be things that are even in the urgent list, more urgent than others, and then put a blue circle, blue writing against things that can be scheduled in. And you may not be able to see because it's quite light, but there's a purple line against anything that can be left till the end of the week, and it's not particularly bothersome if it doesn't get done. So the first thing that I do, once I've done that on my list, then what I do is go to my calendar. So I'll just show you my calendar in Microsoft. You might want to use Google Calendars. Now, I would imagine that those of you that are running a business will have something like Calendly or You Can Book Me or Acuity or something that you schedule your bookings into. So the reason that I do this is so that I can see where time is available, where I can, people that I've put on my list, I need to book in for one-to-ones, I can get those onto my calendar. So as you can see, things on my calendar that are booked in as a recurring schedule are times when I have my mum, and you can see that that goes into the evening as well. There are times that I've booked out that I'm going away and I'm not going to be at home because I'm going to see a band. So they're in on the calendar because I don't think I'll have any time there. So I've just completely blocked it out. There are meetings that I attend on a regular basis that I've put as a recurring meeting. So as you can see, all of these are the networking events that I do on a regular basis. Some of them I don't always attend every week. I make sure I always attend Monday evenings. And then it's a toss-up between Wednesdays and Thursdays, which one I attend there, because I only do 2 networking meetings a week. Because the other thing that I always do is mission-led content, which is a combination of networking and copy. So then what goes in there are the regular things that happen every week, like I do homework club every week with Emma Kirkham. So we get together and work on some content, or sometimes we just chat out stuff that's bothering us and spend the time doing that, because sometimes it's good to have somebody there to listen to and chat through things that are doing your head in. And things like every Wednesday between 2 and 5 all year, it's going to either be coaching sessions, which is every second Wednesday of the month, co-working sessions, which is every Wednesday, and then the last co-working session of the month is always going to be a review of the month previously, and to help correct anybody that's gone off course and get them back on course. So that's a recurring meeting that's always in. This next week coming up, I've already got a couple of one-to-ones booked in, but there's not anything else. My week looks particularly light next week, but I do have to prepare for the following week, which is when my NLP course starts, and I've got to be like an advertising freak next week in getting my content out to advertise for at least 1 more member, if not 3, to join the NLP course for that starts the following Thursday. So there's lots of planning around that. There'll be some stuff that I can do this weekend because I've had a lot of time off this week because I've felt unwell. So I will work tomorrow at some point, and then and Sunday I'll have completely off. It's important to have at least 1 complete day off, I believe. The reason that I believe that is when I had my nervous breakdown back in 2012-13, I still can't remember the year. Might have even been 2011. Those years are such a blur because I was in such a dark place. I really have a massive lack of memory for things that went on in those times because they were quite traumatic. So since I had my nervous breakdown, It took, at the time, I was working a full-time job and running a business and running all my friends everywhere and being the yes girl to everyone. And I literally ran myself into the ground, hence having the nervous breakdown, because I couldn't cope with that schedule anymore. So now I always make sure I have at least one day off a week. Usually it's two. But I know that I've had a lot of time off within the week this week. So actually I'm okay at working a few hours tomorrow to get stuff done. But also on those days, that's when all the personal stuff comes. That's when my cleaning happens, a lot of the washing, stuff for parentals and that kind of thing. So what I do now is I have a look at the gaps and I have an idea of how long things take. I'm just going to stop sharing this for a moment because this is also an important point. If you've never planned in time before, if you don't know how long things take, this block planning section can take a little bit of time to get used to, because some things will take you a lot longer to do than you imagined, and other things will take you less time than you imagined. What this is getting you to realize is how long a job takes if you've never done it before. So, for instance, when I first started doing this, I'd be like, oh, I'll be able to get my web page, run it up and running in an afternoon, and then it took me 3 weeks to get it set up. Because when you've never done a job before, you have no idea of how long that job takes. So over the next few weeks, this is about refining that time that jobs take, so you have an understanding of how long things take for you in your business. Now, that may vary depending on the intensity of the job that you've got to do, the demands of a client that you may have, the commitments that you've made around that particular client, and commitments on the time scale that you say that you'll have stuff done in. But if you know how long, say for instance, you have been employed to write a blog for someone, and you know that when you write a blog, it'll take you an hour, and then you've got to send it off to them, and it may take another half an hour to readjust anything that they've sent back to you, to readjust. It may take another half an hour to an hour. Once you know how long that takes, you'll be able to price things better in future, because it won't just be about the hour it takes to write that blog. It's about all the other work that goes around that, because there may be research that you have to do as well that may take an hour or two beforehand. So you can actually say, well, actually, you know, it's going to cost you 100 quid per blog, because it's not just about the hour that it takes. It takes 2 hours to do the research, usually takes another hour or so for the communication after it's been written so that things are right, and then to upload, maybe you're doing the breaking it down into sections so it can be social media posts or whatever your job is. That's just an example of how long things will take for you. So this is the time where it's helpful to have a written planner so that you can write down how long jobs take, or write it in notes on your phone so that you know what, whenever you do a job, you know exactly how long it takes, so that when you get future clients, you can price your packages better. So I used to, when I first started coaching, charge £50 an hour, because I thought that was the hour that I was in there for. But I didn't remember that there's preparation time for a client. There's notes that I write after a client. I file all my clients' notes in a safe place to make sure that they aren't accessible to anybody else and that they're confidential. There's WhatsApp support in between sessions with my clients, and that can range from very little to half an hour to 2 hours on a daily basis if somebody's in real crisis. So because of that, my prices, I now start at a 6-month package at £5,000. because actually when you price it up over that period of time, you can't price it on an hourly basis, because everything outside of the time that you're actually with the client also matters. So whatever business you're in, start thinking about the time it takes you to actually do the job, so that you can price accordingly, but also plan accordingly. Because there's no point in you saying, oh, I really need 5 more clients because I need X amount of money, but you don't have time to serve 5 clients. Okay, so it's really important to understand that. I don't ever have any more than 3 clients at a time, 4 clients at a time, 4 clients at a time, because the time that takes up around mum and around this Progress Club, around doing all other things that I do as a business, I don't have the capacity for more. You'll find other coaches that will run back-to-back 10 coaching sessions a day or 8 coaching sessions a day, and they rarely have a break in between, and they're exhausted. Because I've had a nervous breakdown, I massively encourage breaks between you doing anything. So for instance, if you have booked a half an hour session with me or an hour session with me, on my calendar, that automatically books me for a half an hour session. It books me 15 minutes before and 15 minutes afterwards to prepare and to have a little break afterwards. And if it's an hour session, it gives me half an hour before and half an hour afterwards, because sometimes you need that time. You need that time to just step away from your computer and go for a walk somewhere. So when we start blocking these things in, you'll start to get an idea of what that's going to look like for you. Now, I've been doing this now for over a year. So for most things, I've got an idea of the time that it takes to do something. Not for everything, but for most things. So if you're just starting, take these next few weeks as that practice time, that exercise time, so that you can figure out how long particular jobs take. And then we can talk about all the client stuff and charges and things like that within coaching rooms. That's what that is for. So that's the end of this video. The next time you see me, I'll show you what it looks like once my calendar is block planned.